Mate.
Right, well, good afternoon, everybody. We have got everybody that we're expecting to join, and welcome to this afternoon's webinar, which will be exploring accessing paid internships, an amazing initiative that the Combined Authority once again are powering through to make sure that our employers across the region are able to access the skilled talent that they need, but also to make sure that we unlock opportunity for all communities across our neighbourhoods. What we do know as the Chambers of Commerce is that at the moment, no surprise, 90% of employers are citing costs to employment as a huge price pressure to their business and to their success. But equally, we're seeing that 76% are struggling to recruit and find the talent that they need. So whilst we are seeing rises in employment costs, that does not mean that employers are not recruiting. Quite the opposite, that we are still struggling to find the right people for the right roles at the right time. So it's brilliant to see the support that Nikki and the wider team at the Combined Authority are pulling through into paid internships. And this afternoon, we'll be hearing from two employers as to their first-hand experience so far, which we hope will inspire many of you to engage with the team and to take on some more talent into your business. Just before we do get going, this session will be recorded so that you can share it amongst colleagues and take away the sentiment and hopefully encourage more neighbouring employers to engage and to support the amazing initiative. If you want to be able to ask a question, you can use the chat or the Q&A function. We do ask you to remain muted, but you're very welcome to keep your cameras on. And in terms of today's agenda, what we will be doing is shortly introducing our two employers. We will begin with Helen from Paragraph, and then we'll be heading over to Liam Rushmer at Fitness Rush, who I've had the pleasure of meeting firsthand, and what an amazing job you're both doing. And then Nicola March will be showcasing how the Combined Authority are investing to be able to support you for the future. So without any further ado, we will stop sharing slides at our end, and we will introduce our first speaker, Helen Dighton, who is representing Paragraph. So over to you, Helen.
Thank you. So Paragraph, for those of you who don't know us, we're not really a startup anymore, very much more scale up, doing exciting things with graphene in electronic devices. We've been going for about 8 years now, and we have a site in Somersham and a site in Huntingdon, which will be our main manufacturing site. We have long had interns in the business, either summer interns working with us for 3 months or for a year-long industrial placement. For us, it's a really good way to get some fresh faces in the business, new energy. They tend to be undergraduates, so a lot more energy than a lot of the rest of us. And it's also an opportunity for the team to share their knowledge, coach young career people on things that they might not otherwise get an opportunity to study. And hopefully all the undergrads that come to us have a really good experience. They all have a project to work on which they own for the time that they're with us, whether it's 3 months or for the year. And they all get some really good experience. And certainly the ones we had last year who were with us either for the summer or for the year, there were a few there that were wavering about their studies, and they all were inspired by opportunities in STEM because of the time they had with us, and have gone away really happy and enthused and committed to finishing their studies and then taking their career forward. And then a couple have remained with us in the business as well. So for us, it's something we've always done. What the funding gave us a chance to do is just expand the programme and have more people in the business. So we were able to really engage with more people and give them a good experience and encourage their careers further in STEM subjects. So that's our tale.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Helen. Now we'd like to introduce Liam Rushmer. And sorry, I am not Charlotte. I am a quick switch in. I'm Connor. But Liam, if you'd like to talk us through your experience with the paid internship program, that would be amazing.
I thought you looked a bit different there. I have met Charlotte before.
It's the power of the
change of hair there. No, brilliant. Yes. I just want to quickly go back with there's a lot of people probably don't know me on here, so I'm going to tell a little story before I get into the internship side. Nicola's probably heard this quite a few times. But let's cast our minds back to 2007. It's a long time ago now, but back then I wasn't in the best shape. I was eating a lot of fast food, drinking a lot of alcohol. And there's one day in particular, I was doing my day job of a courier driver, broken down at the side of the road. All of a sudden, I was hit by a lorry. I flipped over 5 times, end up in a ditch. That, they say, could have been my day, but it wasn't. I then used fitness as a tool to help me recover, both mentally and physically. And within that same year, I started buying and selling gym equipment of all things. After getting into fitness, I've got an addictive personality. So once I started the fitness, I wanted to be in the industry. So I started buying and selling gym equipment. Fast forward a few more years, it got to 2014. I was doing very well with that business. I moved into a storage unit in Oldhurst in Huntingdon. And I took the leap to become a personal trainer after putting it off for 7 years, talking myself out of it, etc. I'm not good enough, where the client's going to come from. And I took that leap. I started my own members gym in my storage unit in 2015. And over the next year, I developed that, and it was becoming quite a business. And then I had a very tough time in 2016. So I got married in June. That's not the tough time, that's a good thing. But then a month later, my father passed away. A couple of months after that, my granddad passed away. One of my best friends passed away, and we had a miscarriage. And all these things come at once. And I think it does for a lot of us. I'm sure a lot of you can relate to that. And I struggled mentally. I'm not going to lie. I fell into heavy depression. I had a lot of social anxiety. I had PTSD from the crash with banging of weights in the gym. So I had to look at ways to change my business model. And it took a while, a good 3 years of me struggling and suffering. And then I changed the business model. So I just have personal trainers and clients in the facility now. So a safe space for those who want to train away from the noise and the busy environments. And I didn't realize how many people were out there like me. So I thought, how can I take this to the wider community? So I started developing again, and I developed essentially gyms inside vans. So I was sketching, and I come up with a mobile fitness facility that we could take it to the wider community. And who knew 4 or 5 years later we'd be delivering complementary exercise to the whole of Cambridgeshire and Peterborough. We now have a qualification centre, so we upskill people. And that is where we met Catherine. So for those who don't know Catherine, she was actually the first internship of Nicola's internship programme. So it started there. Catherine was homeless for over 10 years. She was addicted to alcohol and drugs, had lots of kind of mental health issues. But she'd come to a church where we were, and she did a level 1 qualification with us in fitness. And I saw such promise in her. She was very kind-hearted and wanted to do well. So I personally paid for her to become a personal trainer. We're now 18 months in. She's completely sober from drugs and alcohol. She won, well, come runners up at the National Fitness Awards for the Outstanding Achievement. She won awards at the Internship Awards with Nicola. But the reason we could bring it on into our business as a full-time member was through the route of an internship. And it's not just on my side as an employer, it was on Catherine's side, because Catherine gets benefits for housing and PIP, etc. And she didn't know if it was going to work for her. So the internship was a great way for her to test the waters, for me to test the waters, to see if it works for both of us. And it did. And that was the first time I've ever used a program like this for internships. And it's not the last time, is it, Nicola? You can give me a nod. So yeah, so we've had a few more people come through now, and actually have one on the program right now. And it's just an amazing way to upskill people and just see if they're going to be right for your company, and if it's going to be right for them too, because it's teamwork, isn't it? We need to make sure that it's right on both sides. And I just believe the internship gives you the way to do that over a shorter period of time, because we've looked at apprenticeships, etc., and this doesn't work for us. The shorter term internships are a really good route in. We know that we want new employees coming in. We just want to make sure that they're right. And from the recruitment point of view, we don't go down the typical recruitment routes anymore. We now work within the communities to upskill people, to put them through our qualifications, and we know that they're going to be the right people for us. So we've slightly changed the way we recruit now, because who's going to be better training community members than the community members themselves? And I'll leave it there for my little snapshot of Fitness Rush.
Brilliant. Thank you, Liam. And I think everyone will agree that is an amazing story. But we will have time for Q&A at the end of all of the speakers. So I will now invite Nicola from the Combined Authority, who is very much integral to this program, to talk a little bit more about how, as an employee, you may actually get involved and have your own intern join the team. So over to you, Nicola.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. I am going to attempt to share my screen. So just bear with me a second while hopefully the sharing. And are you hopefully? Yes, absolutely.
Good to
Fabulous. Go. That's great. Thank you for having me. Please feel free to call me Nikki. Obviously I'm Nicola March, but most people know me as Nikki. I'm a senior skills and business relationship manager and project lead with the Cambridgeshire and Peterborough Combined Authority, and that's a bit of a mouthful of a job title, isn't it? But it means I get to do some really, really exciting things, and one of those is the internship program. So I'm not sure if any of you know the breadth of stuff that the Combined Authority do, and also kind of within our skills team. So the Combined Authority, Cambridgeshire and Peterborough Combined Authority, otherwise known as CPCA for short. We are the employment and skills team within the Combined Authority. There's lots of different teams. And basically we draw down funding from UK Share Prosperity Fund, which some of our internships come through, and Youth Guarantee Trailblazer, amongst other funding. So that means that everything that we do for the community and the funding that we offer is entirely free. In a nutshell, we help and support local organisations to recruit, retain and upskill their staff. We have a toolkit of solutions with funding available and all services aimed at helping to, create business growth and stimulate high quality employment opportunities for those that we have in our region. So I think Helen has kind of, touched on some of the benefits of internships and Liam as well. But I just wanted to kind of touch on a few more. Here's some lovely statements from, one of them is from Helen, from some of our employers that engaged with the program last year. But basically, generally our internship program allows employers to bring in fresh talent and ideas, new perspectives to the organization, and it can then lead to increased productivity and innovation. It helps to find new hidden talent. I think Liam kind of spoke about, the methods that he uses, the alternative methods that, employees can be sourced to make sure that they're the right fit. And also both have spoken about the fact that with our internship funding, you can recruit staff where otherwise it might not be financially viable. And a lot of the employers that we talk to kind of have to sometimes have a staff member in place in order to drive the economy of the business to be able to afford that member of staff. So that 6 weeks internship that we have currently running, helps to see whether it's financially viable and also gives an opportunity to do that. So the individuals often bring new energy into the workplace, and you can develop them. You can develop your own talent and mold them as you would want, and also build future pipelines of employees. We had really good success with the pilot program last year. 72% of them remained in employment with their employer after the end of the internship. So it is great as well, you know, other than those 6 weeks. It is great for that long-term prospect as well. It's not just a work experience program. And I think one of the things that I kind of want to touch on with this as well, when we talk about internships, people have certain connotations of who those people are, but actually our internships are slightly different. There are loads of more benefits, and I am not going to read these to you, so you know I'm sure you'll be glad. But here's some comments about how the benefit, the businesses that we supported last year, you know, benefited, and how it added value, you know, by individuals being able to take on extra projects, interns, you know, bringing fresh perspectives and new ideas. And all of those things that we've just kind of really spoke about. So again, I'm not going to read them to you, but there's some great, you know, feedback that we have from employers last year regarding the internships. So as I said, our internships are slightly different. We developed them in consultation with employers and stakeholders in 2024. I like to refer to it where possible as a new hire scheme rather than a paid internship scheme, because I think when people hear the word internship, they think of a student that's in university, college, or those that are coming out, but actually that's not the case. We have placed everyone from project managers, accountants, team leaders, right down to you know, waiting staff, retail staff, every kind of possibility across the board. You know, we learned lessons from our pilot scheme last year, even though it was really successful, and have updated some of the administration of the service. We've got a new system being launched hopefully next week, so that will kind of really help. And one of my ethos, and I'm sure that Helen and Liam will tell you, is I don't believe in work's sake, and I work for work's sake, and I don't believe in extra paperwork for the sake of it. So we try and make everything as simple as possible. I don't want to be giving out funding to employers and then tying them up in paperwork. There is due diligence and stuff that we have to do to make sure that people align with what we're kind of looking for, but you know, we don't do paperwork for paperwork's sake. So at the moment, our 22 plus offer, and as I said, it's not the traditional internship. Actually, last year, 10% of the interns were actually over the age of 50, and the majority of them were between 21 and 35. We ran a program that was from 16 upwards, and only 10% were between the ages of 16 to 18. So the current offer for 22 plus for our UK SPF funding is 100% of the salary. We pay 100% of the salary to national living wage, which is 12.21. So employers, you know, are quite entitled to top that up if they want to pay a bit more. So for some of those roles that I mentioned, you know, project manager wasn't paid on a basic 12.21 salary. You know, the employer topped that up, but at least that bit was paid for. And for hours ranging between 12 to 38 hours, our internships at the moment currently last 6 weeks, so we pay that for 6 weeks. But on top of that, we pay an extra £100 a week subsidy, and that is to help equipment, onboarding costs, national insurance, PPE if needed. And that £100 a week goes to the employers. They're open for all individuals over the age of 22 that live in Cambridgeshire and Peterborough that are not currently in education and training. That doesn't mean that those that are on summer break from university, college, etc., can't take part, because they can. So if they're on a break from learning, you know, for the summer, they can start with us, and they need to have the right to work in the UK. We do align ourselves with several sectors, and these are our priority and growth sectors, and that's kind of where we market a lot of our internships to. But as you've seen, Fitness Rush isn't necessarily in one of those sectors, and we do cover all. Well, actually, you might come under health and social care, but we do cover all sectors. As Liam also alluded to, we use alternative methods of recruitment, and what that means for each individual employer is completely different. What we're trying to do is get away from the traditional CV and formal interview. Not everyone is able to describe their, essential skills in the best way via a CV. They may have gaps if they're returning to work after having children, or, might be looking for a change of career. And we found a lot of the time with CVs, employers will look at those, but won't see past those. As to what these individuals could actually bring to their organisation. So we prefer to allow individuals to demonstrate what they're able to do. But your recruitment method, as long as it's kind of within our bounds of those alternative methods of recruitment, is really up to you and the role that you do. We have digital badges in the most common skills that employers say they require as per the Chamber of Commerce LSIP, which now includes a customer service badge. So interns can also do apprenticeships and other formal training. I think Helen last year had one that was doing an apprenticeship as well, so they can do that at the same time. And we can, if needed, help employers to access the funding for this. So this week, our new huge Trailblazer funding has kind of kicked in with a whole heap of initiatives for employers. So we're now able to offer a match funded, 50% funded 18 to 21-year-old internship. And it's the same as all the others, apart from the fact that it's over 12 weeks. The hours are slightly different, but it's national minimum wage or living wage, depending on the age of the individual, and a £50 a week subsidy. This means that you actually get the same amount of money as you would on the other scheme. It's just over a longer period of time, because our younger people tend to take a little bit longer to get where they need to be and to show their worth to an organisation. So digital badges, we use digital badges, across our internships. And I don't know if you understand or you've seen digital badges before, but basically they look like these things. As I said, we have digital badges in the most common skills that employers are asking for. These are all essential skills and transferable skills. It's really key. And I think when you talk about the information that's coming through the LSIP, and also when I have my conversations with employers, quite a lot of the time they're not looking for qualifications. They're looking for people with the right attitude that's going to turn up, be motivated, be able to solve their own problem, use their own initiative and work as part of a team, and be able to communicate. That's kind of what they're looking for. So these are kind of essential skills. So that means that the individual has a standard to meet for each of these digital badges, and they're able to collect them throughout their internship. That means that when they go on to their next step, whether remaining with the employer or going elsewhere, then they're able to accredit and demonstrate that they have these skills. We've all seen CVs and they all read exactly the same. We all have good communication skills, can work as part of a team or on our own initiative. These digital badges mean that someone else has said that person has good communication skills, can work on their own initiative, etc. So they are really kind of key. They are the future. There's a lot of stuff that we're kind of doing with digital badges this year. Feel free to come and talk to me if you want to talk more about digital badges, but I'm not going to spend too long today unless there's any questions later. We've just released, as well as those customer service, as well as those digital badges, we released a customer service badge. Customer service was the next skill that was required by the LSIP in one of the later updates. This customer service badge, unlike all of the other badges, is able for you to be able to offer that to any individual that you feel meets the criteria, whether that be an employee, a volunteer, or someone that you're working with. These digital badges are very easy to issue. You can see the criteria here. What actually happens when you put it on your CV, it will look something like this. You click on the digital badge and up comes the standard. So very much like a qualification, where you have the first page saying, you've accredited with this hospitality and catering qualification, and the second page is a standard that you've had to meet in order to achieve that. It's the same with a digital badge. I have about 5 digital badges on my CV. Most of them are about digital badges though. But anyone that can see my CV can click on the digital badge and see the standards I've had to meet. They're very easy to give out. So all you need to do, when you feel that someone has met the criteria, they scan the QR code and give them the claim code. Up pops a little, very short online form, and then they're able to claim their digital badges. it's great to claim them, but what do you do with them? So we now have our recruitment on Talent Hive, which is a brand new system. It's never been done anywhere else before in the UK. So individuals are able to build these online profiles, a bit like CVs, but not quite. So you can see a couple of examples there. It's really great as well because they can put all their digital badges on. You employers that we give access to these systems for recruiting are able to post vacancies, you know, for free. They can search for specific badges. They can browse these digital profiles and they can look for qualifications because they can put qualifications as well on there, and they can message employees and do their recruitment. So these individuals can, you know, put all their badges on, you know, put information on. If they're, for instance, they're interested in carpentry, they can put pictures of their work on, they can put videos, etc. So there's a lot that can be done with this very new innovative recruitment system called Talent Hive. Just before I finish, there's a couple of other employer initiatives through the Youth Guarantee Trailblazer that I thought was really important to mention. We're very lucky. We're one of 8 areas in the UK to be given Youth Trailblazer funding. So we're able to allow some other initiatives that are coming out. The first of which is age grants, and that for apprenticeships. So if you want to take on an apprenticeship between the ages of 16 and 18, currently there's £1,000 grant by the government, and we're actually doubling or trebling that for you, so you're able to apply for that. There's also initiatives from government, you know, to increase higher technical qualifications for under 21s. So we have a grant for that where employers are able to get up to £2,000. I think it's actually exactly £2,000 for putting either a new member of staff or someone that has been with the company less than 9 months who is under the age of 21 through a higher technical qualification. We will also, you know, in the next coming months be developing the Talent Hive so that, you know, we won't just use it for intern recruitment. Other employers that we engage with on some of these other contracts and funding will be able to access it for recruitment as well. And also increasing our use of digital badging with Regions of Learning, who does all of our digital badging stuff. As one quick note to note that any employers that are accepting any funding from CPCA Skills and Employment, especially on the Youth Trailblazer, will need to consent to being contacted to participate in our evaluation, which kind of goes back to the government and shows how we've spent the money that we've been awarded, but also helps to drive, you know, youth incentives and other incentives moving forward to make sure that they're meeting the needs of everybody involved. And that's me. Just one more thing to say, which is you can check our website for upcoming events. So we do information sessions, you know, full information sessions around all of our services. But the first step for any employer that's looking to draw down any funding or receive any support from us is to complete our very quick online training needs analysis form that takes about 15 minutes to do. Are there any questions?
We will open up a Q&A for all 3 of our speakers. So if you have a question for Nicola, Helen or Liam regarding anything that we've covered today, you can either put your hand up and request to say it yourself, or you can drop it in the chat. Either method works. And if not, I do have a couple of questions prepared myself. Craig.
I'll just unmute myself first. I was just going to inquire, how long's the funding and the schemes going to be lasting for in our area? Do we know?
Yeah, so at the moment, all of these funding schemes have to end by March 26. However, it is very likely, we've heard rumours that we will get Youth Trailblazer funding for several years afterwards, should it be successful. And also, if the programme continues to be successful under the UK SPF funding, whilst there won't be any UK SPF funding next year, we will look to see if we can fund it through our combined authorities' other resources.
Excellent. And I've got one quick supplemental, if I may. It's how we're going to be promoting. I mean, these are all fantastic schemes, but how are we going to be disseminating that information effectively to employers across Peterborough and Cambridgeshire?
So we throughout our skills and employment, CPCA skills and employment team, work as a team of skills brokers that advise businesses on various things. We're in contact with a lot of businesses. We send out newsletters. We also join up with the CPCA Growth Hub as well. So there's a lot of businesses that come to me that are referred through the Growth Hub. Obviously the Chamber of Commerce as well. We get referrals through the Chamber of Commerce, and it's just making sure that we get these information out. This week is, I think it's National Employability Week. So we are doing massive social media campaigns, especially around all of our Youth Trailblazer incentives, but also, touching on the other stuff as well. Paul Bristow was actually doing that as the Mayor of Cambridgeshire and Peterborough, did a video for us yesterday. We've got more lined up for the rest of the week. So there's lots more, social media campaigns, etc. to follow. We also go out and attend events on a regular basis and networking events and just try and spread the word as much as possible.
Fantastic. That's lovely. Thank you very much, Nicola.
Thank you.
Maria?
Hello there. I just you mentioned about the whole of Cambridgeshire is where you cover. I work for so CCVS Support Cambridgeshire, and looking after a project called Support Fenland, and we've actually had a combined event with the Chamber of Commerce in March of this year in the town of March, and we're looking at addressing skills in the Fenland area. I mean, in your experience, what sort of experience have you had with the businesses in the Fenland area compared to the rest of sort of the county?
I have a lot of experience in the Fenland area. I'm from Fenland. So we've got Fenland businesses engaged last year, not as many as I would like, but they did engage and we had some really good success. I've got interns out in Fenland as we speak at the moment. I think I've got about 15 interns on board, and I think about four of them are out in Fenland. I did have attended some of the Chamber Fenland events, but I'm not always available for all of them. But I would like to reach more businesses within Fenland. I think there can be a little struggle there. I think the issue is that all businesses are so busy at the moment, just trying to get through the everyday, that they don't necessarily have the time to look at these things. I think they need someone to kind of point them and say, look, this is the upshot. This is what it can do to you. Go and have a conversation. And I think once I've spoken to businesses, more often than not, they do take it up, but it's getting that conversation in the first place. I'm always happy to have referrals or any businesses.
That would be amazing. And I'd like to extend an invitation, if I may, to our follow-up event, which will be in October, which will be including businesses within the Fenland area. So I think what you've said today would be very pertinent. And if you're happy to, perhaps give a similar presentation at that event for Fenland businesses, that would be absolutely amazing. If we can sort of exchange emails at, in the chat or whatever, that would be great. Thank you.
Yes, I'm very happy to do that. I do go out and do presentations, but also just so that you're aware, we have presentations twice a week that businesses are able to just log on to, book themselves onto and log on to hear all about the ins and outs of internships and the other funding. So, it takes about an hour with the Q&A at the end. It's a more extensive version of this presentation because there's a lot more to go through, but that they are always available for employers as well. But I'm happy to come and speak and give another presentation in October, and if I'm not available, I'm sure one of my colleagues will be.
That's lovely. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thanks, Maria. Kim?
I popped it in the chat as well. Couldn't find my hand. I'm not used to Zoom, and apologies, my camera won't work either. So yes, just at the other end, we work with neat young people. So how will we find out about the companies that are offering these internships? How will that be advertised?
So we have two ways to recruit. We have an open recruitment and a closed recruitment. So the closed recruitment, very much like Liam suggested earlier, is where that you come to me, or an organization comes to me and says, I want to take on this person. They meet the eligibility, and that is a closed recruitment. We also have open recruitment. So during open recruitment, we advertise, or employers are able to advertise their job vacancies on our talent hive. Now, we've only just kicked off for this year. As I said, we've only got 15 interns in place, but most of them were closed in recruitment, but we are recruiting very soon for some new ones. So once they've advertised their roles on our talent hive system, we put together what we call hot job bulletin. Now that hot job bulletin lists all of the jobs that are available and all the job descriptions, and goes out to over 200 organizations within the region. It goes to all the job centers, all of our training providers, because we actually fund a huge amount of training, colleges, universities, and other support organizations that support people that are looking to get into work and could possibly be interested in an internship. And that kind of gets sent out on a regular basis. We haven't sent it out for a couple of months because we haven't had any new vacancies, because we only just started back up. But as soon as we've got some new vacancies, please send that out. If you want to be added to the list.
Yeah, I was just going to say that we could get added to that list. Brilliant.
Absolutely. Perfect. Just let me know, drop me an email. Thank you. I will add you to that list so that you can get the latest updates. It also goes out to all the economic development officers of all the local councils. As I said, there's about 200 organisations on that list, but I'm sure there's some we've missed.
Thank you.
I have a question actually for Helen and Liam. I recently had a conversation with a business regarding kind of work experience placements, but I guess in a similar vein, this has some of those similar concerns. So they kind of, it's the build up to it. So how do you prepare for bringing on board someone in this kind of way into your organization? So Helen and Liam, I don't know if you have any kind of experience or kind of first-hand guidance of what you did as organizations to kind of prepare for an intern coming in, and then perhaps as an adjunct, what support the CPCA can offer an organization looking to onboard an intern.
Shall I go first?
You go first.
Thank you.
You first.
So it's one thing bringing in a new member of the team. It's another thing bringing in somebody as an intern, certainly for us, because they do tend to be younger. They are typically undergrads for us who haven't got work experience in the past. So what we'll do is make sure they've got a good line manager, a strong line manager, have a good project in place, make sure you've got a good induction process in place so that you can alleviate any of those concerns from day one. Keep that communication before they join the team so that they're at ease. They know exactly what they need to wear, what they need to bring. Just make it easy for them from day one and make sure they have that support network around them and really clear expectations about what they need to deliver.
Yeah, I'll jump in there. The support aspect, Helen, is very, very important. I think we're ready. When we take on an intern, we're ready. So we would have already upskilled them through one of our qualifications. So we know that they're the right person to come on board. We just want to make sure that they're the right person to work with us, and having a good shadowing practice. A lot of the interns will come and shadow me personally, whether it be in the gym or be with the van. So I think Helen summed it up well, having that support network there. Don't bring someone in and expect them to know, because they're new to the industry they're coming into. They might have a passion about it, but they still need to be supported through it.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. That's very helpful.
Sorry, I was going to say, if I can just kind of come in there. So one of the things that we do is we have our reviews. So we usually do a review after the first week, which kind of helps see how people are settling in, and also helps set their, you know, key priorities for moving forward, and a review at the end as well. But employers have often said that those reviews and the digital badging standards have really helped shape those conversations and those development conversations about where that intern needs to be. And in fact, actually, one of the employers in particular used to use the digital badging specifications, you know, with her other employers to show them where they needed to be, not necessarily being able to issue them the digital badges, but, you know, that's the standard that you need to meet, and this is how you get there.
Brilliant. Thank you, Nikki. Is there any other questions before I wrap everything up?
Can I just add, actually, while I think about it, Nicola mentioned that the paperwork process was as straightforward as it possibly could be. Absolutely. I've done grant applications which have been pages and pages, but this one, yes, there's things you need to go through and make sure you're prepped, but really straightforward process. Nicola and the team make it as easy as it possibly could be to make that application and support throughout.
And then they have developed it recently to make it even easier if it wasn't easy enough before. So yeah, as business owners or very important workers within your organization, you've got enough on your plate already. But this wasn't a lot for me to do. Even the reviews is really good for us to look to see the feedback from the intern, see what we're doing well, what we're not doing so well. So it's really good for you as a company to understand what's like a helicopter view from someone else, so they can come in and see everything, opposed from being inside the organization, not being able to see all the cogs turning, if you like.
Well, I think that's very positive to hear, because I think the saying goes, bureaucracy is the death of any achievement. So if we can minimize the amount of paperwork any business has to go through, and I think when we speak to businesses about any kind of program that might support them with something, the biggest question is, how much paperwork am I going to have to complete? And keeping it to the absolute minimum is really positive. So happy to hear that. I'm just going to run through a couple of closing bits. I won't keep everyone much longer, but I just want to bring up some of the kind of future skills events we've got coming up, which will be relative to some of the stuff we've spoken about today. So I'm going to try and share my screen now, and hopefully it works. Hopefully you can all see that. So on the 22nd of July, we will be heading to Young Technicians Academy, which is based in Peterborough, or Yaxley, just below Peterborough. And they are an alternative training provider, allowing young people a pathway into the creative industry. So kind of lighting technicians, anything in that, roadies for gigs. So we're going to go and explore their space and find out what they're doing for young people in the region. We'll then be going for a networking breakfast at the Park Inn by Radisson in Peterborough, where we'll be looking at how you as a business can kind of upskill people in your business to drive forward through digital transformation, basically. And part of that is getting your team on board with that transformation, because you can implement all the new software you like, but if your team don't buy into it and they don't use it properly, it's not going to help your business grow. We'll then be heading, it's not in date order, so forgive me for that. It's confusing me as well. We'll be heading to Gen Phoenix on the 15th of July, so next week. That's exclusively for manufacturers, but to talk about the future of manufacturing, it's an industry where skills can be particularly challenging. So it's about having conversations around that. And then on the 9th of September, we'll be gathering again for our quarterly labour market analysis webinar. I know many of you probably do attend that anyway, but it's a really good way to get some insights on what's happening in the world of the labour market on a quarterly basis. So any of these you can find on our website. I believe all of these are free to attend as well. So if you want to go and sign up, please head over to our website. But you can also contact us if you're having any problems. And just a small shout out really to Campus B2B South, which will be happening on the 19th of November at Hingston Hall, of which the Combined Authority are our principal partner in this event. So all of the information can be found via the QR code or via our website. Things are going kind of live as we go, but please do get involved in that event too. And finally, thank you for coming along. And I hope everyone has kind of learned something to take away. I believe all of our speakers are happy to be contacted. If you have any questions about either their experience or how Nikki at the CPCA can help you as a business implement an internship within your own organization.